The Santa Barbara Bowls Education Outreach Program provides resources and builds partnerships that enhance performing arts exposure and education in the greater Santa Barbara community. The program has grown to serve more than 25,000 Santa Barbara County school children each year. The Santa Barbara Bowl believes in fostering the arts as a way to preserve the community treasure that is the Bowl. By investing in future audiences and future artists, the Santa Barbara Bowl will continue to have an impact on people for generations to come.
Music and art give the students an opportunity in a safe place to make mistakes and try new things and think outside of the box. And if they continue to develop their music and artistic skills, then this will carry over into anywhere they go in life.
The Santa Barbara Bowl Instrument Fund was started to ensure that the lack of a musical instrument wasn't the reason that a child couldn't have a musical experience. So basically we wanted to make sure that if there was a child that was interested in learning and there was a teacher ready to teach, that they didn't miss their connection by the lack of a musical instrument.
Our students come from a very diverse background, and there are some students here who would never be able to study an instrument if their family had to pay to rent or buy one. So the Santa Barbara Bowl Foundation has made it equitable for all students to learn to play an instrument here at Monroe School.
The Instrument Fund actually does two things, one of which we plan to do, which is that we would provide instruments to both in-school and after-school programs. Another thing that it does that was actually a surprise that we learned by meeting with the stakeholders and the teachers and the community was that there's a good number of instruments that were there but just not playable. So the Santa Barbara Bowl Foundation came up with the idea and worked with the local stakeholders to create the Instrument Fund. We've got a bunch of generous local donors that help support us in our efforts, including the Stepanek Foundation and the Moser Foundation. And then from there, our Bowl staff administers and supports and runs the program out of the Bowl office.
The Instrument Fund, in addition to purchasing instruments, allows for organizations, individuals, and schools to get the instruments repaired. And we have great partnerships with local repair shops at Nick Rail Music and Jensen's Music, and for strings with Malvini Strings.
Most instruments can be repaired repeatedly and last for years. Unrepaired in a school district, an instrument has a life of 1 to 5 years max. Properly maintained, the inventory can last for 1 or 2 decades.
And what we found is that it's actually more efficient to fix a trumpet than it is to buy a new one. And a lot of times there's trumpets that can be easily fixed and put back in a child's hands.
Growing up in an elementary program where music was valued was very important. It got me connected to my school, and I really enjoyed coming to school every single day. So to me, that's really important. Our kids need to be connected to schools, and music is one way that it can really inspire kids and motivate them to come to school.
Well, I think it's really interesting, the variety of instruments that we've purchased. And some examples would be, we've bought some sousaphones for marching bands. Those sousaphones are different than a tuba used in a concert band. So us on the instrument committee, we learn these things.
A lot of the instruments that we have in this band room, some behind me and some that you can't see, have been provided by the grants from the SB Bowl Foundation. The students do get to pick their instruments, and if they have no preference, then we try to encourage them to try many or put them in a spot that we have particular need for.
Great to see how the Instrument Fund, through not a ton of dollars, can really have a big impact in both in-school and after-school programs.
I've discovered when students get a chance to be introduced to an instrument that it starts to become a part of their identity, and it's something that they can really take a lot of pride in.
I look at instruments as people might look at automobiles. They need periodic maintenance to stay in good operating condition. Any and all instruments that are of good basic manufacture are worth repairing and returning to the student.
And towards that end, if we can get an instrument that's almost there and put the final touches on it and put it in a child's hands, that's a win for everybody.
The shyest kid in the class can now be the loudest when they blow into their trumpet. The most rambunctious, energetic kid in the room is now channeling their energy through an instrument. It's like wearing a superhero cape. A kid without an instrument is just a kid, but a kid with an instrument, they become a musician.